Good morning, students. Welcome to the Checkpoint Online sessions. I'm Mr. Charles, and I'll be with you for the fourth lesson of week 4. Please go to your course book, page 77, multiple choice. Let's read together. Many schools and colleges employ multiple choice testing, not only for interest tests, but for end-of-course examinations. In some countries, such as the USA and former Soviet Union, such tests are virtually the only form of academic evaluation. But multiple choice tests arouse dramatically differing opinions amongst supporters and critics. The former swear by them, while the latter are resolutely opposed. Let's start with what is not disputed. A multiple choice test is one in which the student is presented with a number of alternative answers, usually between 3 to 5, and asked to select one, or more than one according to the rules of the test, which answers the question. It is also agreed by all sides that these tests are easy to mark, as there is one acceptable answer, and no skill or judgment is required by the examiner. Indeed, many multiple choice answer sheets are optically scanned and marked by a computer. It is for this latter reason that supporters describe these tests as objective. The answer is simply right or wrong. It does not depend upon the ability of the student to express himself or herself clearly. It does not depend on how harsh or lenient the marker is. It is no subject to how tired the examiner is or their mood that day. Multiple choice tests are therefore, say supporters, efficient and fair. But what of the critics? For them, almost everything about multiple choice tests is anti-educational. They stifle initiative and force students to think alike. They encourage closed minds. They foster the fallacy that there's always a right answer and only one right answer to life's questions. Critics scoff at the idea that true understanding and subtle appreciation can be tested in this way, and they ridicule the simplicity of multiple choice questions, with such examples as, was Shakespeare a great writer? Yes, no, maybe. They also, more tellingly, point out that the so-called distractor answers, the wrong ones, can mislead unwary candidates. And they claim that students who have been coached in multiple choice techniques do better in the exam, regardless of their actual level of knowledge, than those who have not been coached. Research has proved that a candidate will inevitably score 20% if there are 5 answers, and 33 if there are only 3 answers, simply by clicking the answer A every time. Fundamentally, critics say that these tests give the illusion of objectivity, only because it is easy to count whether the candidates picked the right answer. The questions themselves may be flawed and simplistic, however, so this may not reflect anything of actual value, of the student's knowledge, understanding, skill, or perception. Difficult vocabulary. Arouse is a verb to mean trigger. Resolutely is an adverb to mean decisively, accurately, definitely. Disputed means debated. Lenient, merciful, kind. Stifle means to suffocate, to choke. They stifle initiative, they suffocate or choke initiative, which is creativity. They foster the fallacy, they encourage misconception. Fallacy is a misconception. They scoff is a verb to mean belittle. They demean, they decrease the value of, they think less of. Subtle, the B is silent, and it means hidden. But in this context, it means skilled. tellingly, openly. Unwary, unconscious, not careful. Text analysis. The former, the latter expression. The word former refers back to the first mention of two items in a previous sentence. And the word latter refers to the last or second item. So if it's a group, former is for the first mentioned item and latter is for the last. If it's only two items, former is for the first, again, and latter is for the second. For example, there are two ways to pass this challenge: hard work or patience. The former, being hard work, requires a lot of body and brain work, while the latter, being patience, requires time and thoughtfulness. How do we decide of some statements being true or no? The first statement is multiple choice tests are favored by academic establishments. Analyze the words of this statement and decide if it's inevitably true, if it's ultimately definitely true or not. This one's actually unclear because the text states that only certain countries and certain establishments favor them. This statement says it is favored by all academic establishments. Not saying the word all is implied of all. If you say people favor, let's say, dolma over biryani, you mean all people. If you mean some people, you would have said some people. So saying academic establishments, you mean all. And the text only says certain countries and certain establishments. That's why it's unclear. Second statement, multiple choice tests prove nothing. That is also unclear because the text says the knowledge isn't being tested properly, but to a certain extent it is. I will bring a question to you of 4 or 5 choices after it, and you have to choose the correct answer. You have to study to a certain extent. You have to have a kind of or a level of knowledge for you to answer. So it doesn't really prove nothing, but it doesn't prove how much you studied. The third statement is that multiple choice tests are easy. Well, the word easy here is unclear. They do contain clearly expressed questions, direct, straightforward questions, but selecting the right answer is not necessarily simple, not necessarily easy. So the formation of questions is easy, but choosing the right answer is not always easy. The fourth statement is that multiple choice tests are controversial. The word controversial means that these tests or cause controversy, which means they cause debate. Some people are for, some people are against them. And this is true. Because this adjective, as we said, implies that people still debate these exams' benefits. Fact versus opinion. We will distinguish between a fact and opinion based on several criteria. A fact refers to something that can be verified or proved to be true. But an opinion refers to a judgment or belief about something. The fact is based on observation or research, but an opinion is based on assumption or personal view. A fact is an objective reality. It has nothing to do with a person, as opposed to opinion, which is a subjective statement. It relies on people's opinions, people's points of views. You can verify a fact, but you cannot verify an opinion. A fact usually represents something that really happened, but an opinion is a perception, is a view of that thing that happened. We cannot debate if a car accident happened or not. This is a fact. But we can debate of how we saw that, who's responsible for this. We can debate if it was which person's responsibility. Let's say the driver of the car or the driver of the bicycle. And then we go to the cameras and see, and then it becomes a fact whose responsibility. The fact is universally acknowledged, but an opinion differs from one person to another. You can choose to love cats or not, but we cannot argue that cats can't fly. Cats can't fly is a fact. Cats are lovely or not, that's an opinion. The fact uses unbiased words, but an opinion uses biased words. We will exploit that point in a minute more. The fact is not debatable. We cannot argue if water boils at 100 degrees Celsius or not. But we can debate whether, let's say, Samsung has the best mobile devices or not. Influence, the fact has the power to influence others, but opinions do not have the power to influence other people as strong as facts. In discursive, which contains mostly facts, and argumentative writing, which contains mostly opinions, opinions are introduced by the following verbs. The writer claims, suggests, states, says, thinks, etc. And these verbs give the readers the idea that these statements are not verified as facts. Suggest and state and say and think and claim. These verbs introduce uncertainty, introduce that this is a subjective point of view. This is what he suggests. This is what the writer thinks, not everybody. The use of these verbs indicate uncertainty, that they are not facts. When used with honesty and full or thoroughness, your facts strengthen the piece of writing, whether discursive or argumentative. Opinions offer a general insight on what the personal or common ideas may be. And in our text, we have some facts and some opinions. For facts, a fact is when the writer said many schools and colleges employ multiple choice testing. This is a fact. Another fact is when the writer said in some countries such tests are virtually the only form of academic evaluation, like America and former Soviet Union. They only use this test. This is a fact. Multiple choice tests arouse dramatically differing opinions. They trigger differing opinions, different opinions, and dramatically different opinions. A candidate scores 20% if there are 5 answers, and 30% or 33 if there are only 3 answers by circling A every time. This is done with a survey. This is done through a study, through a research. That's why it's a fact. These tests are easy to mark. A fact as well, because they are so short. And they have one true answer. Opinions, on the other hand, is when the writer said true understanding and subtle appreciation cannot be tested in this way. This is an opinion. These tests are anti-educational. This is a strong word, strong claim. It's an opinion. They stifle initiative. They cause initiatives, they cause creativity to go low. This is an opinion. They encourage closed minds. Again, an opinion. They encourage the illusion that there is always only one right answer to everything. Again, opinion. Please go to page 80, the story of Macbeth. Let's read together. Macbeth chooses no. Macbeth, he's here in double trust. First, as I am his kinsman and his subject, strong both against the deed. Then as his host, who should against his murder shut the door, not bear the knife myself. Besides, this Duncan hath borne his faculties so meek, hath been so clear in his great office, that his virtues will plead like angels, trumpet tongued against the deep damnation of his taken off. And pity, like a naked newborn babe, striding the blast, or heaven's cherubim horsed upon the sightless couriers of the air, shall blow the horrid deed in every eye, that tears shall drown the wind. I have no spur to prick the sides of my intent, but only the vaulting ambition, which o'erleaps itself and falls on the other. Then enters Lady Macbeth, and Macbeth tells her, we will proceed no further in this business. He hath honoured me of late, and I have bought golden opinions from all sorts of people, which be worn now in their newest gloss, not cast aside so soon. Lady Macbeth, was the hope drunk, wherein you dressed yourself? Hath it slept since, and wakes it now, to look so green and pale, at what it did so freely? From this time such I account thy love. Art thou afeard to be the same in thine own act and valour as thou art in desire? Wouldst thou have that which thou esteemest the ornament of life, and live a coward in thine own esteem? Letting I dare not wait upon I would, like the poor cat I thadge. Prithee, peace. I dare do all that may become a man. Who dares do more is none. What beast wast then? What made you break the enterprise to me? When you durst, or when you durst, do it, then you were a man. And to be more than what you were, you would be so much more than the man. Soliloquy. The first speech that we've read is entitled or is called a soliloquy. And a soliloquy is derived from Latin. The solo means to himself, and the liquor, which means I speak. So someone speaking to himself. A soliloquy is a popular dramatical device used to reveal the innermost thoughts of a character. It is a technique used to express a character's thoughts about a certain character, or past, present, or upcoming event, while talking to himself without acknowledging the presence of any other person. So when an actor on stage talks to himself or herself without noticing or without even being any other people around them, this is called a soliloquy. And the soliloquy is used to reveal the thoughts of a character, the deep thoughts of a character. The picture is of Hamlet in Shakespeare's play Hamlet, and he's about to start his famous soliloquy, to be or not to be. Macbeth's soliloquy analysis. Paraphrasing. It has, to a certain extent, some difficult vocabulary, but the noticeable thing is that there are many metaphors used in this. as he is my relative as well as my king. I have two reasons not to harm him, plus the fact that he is my guest and I should offer him security, not kill him. Furthermore, King Duncan is such a mild mannered man and correctly behaved ruler that his good qualities will count in his favor and make the way he died seem even worse. Everyone will feel great sorrow and weep greatly for him. I have no motive to carry out my plan, except for my great ambitious. Macbeth's state of mind. How does he feel with this soliloquy? Macbeth's speech is almost entirely figurative and consists of mixed metaphors of horses and angels, war and religion. He is torn between desire and duty, the actions of a ruthless warrior and those of a religious, faithful man are in opposition and pulling him in different directions. King Duncan came to Macbeth to be his guest, and Macbeth had a prophecy. I hope you watched the additional link that we put in the pacing chart. Macbeth had a prophecy by three witches telling him that he will be king. He is just a warrior. He's a sir that works for the kingdom run by Duncan, King Duncan. But these three witches told him you're going to be a king. So he commits a series of murders with the help of his wife, Lady Macbeth, to reach for the king. And when he does that, one day the king was a guest in his house, and the king was asleep in a separate room. So Lady Macbeth pushed her wife, or pushed her husband, to go kill the king while he's asleep. Macbeth, in the hallway, before entering the room to King Duncan's murder, he has this soliloquy. He has this inner thought of why should I kill him? He is my guest. He's my relative. He is my king. A lot of people like him. He's a well-mannered man. And angels will be sad for his death, for his taking off, leaving the world. And there will be great sorrow, great sadness for his departure. I am torn. He's very much confused between doing or committing the action or not committing it. That's when Lady Macbeth enters, his wife, and encourages him to do so by asking him so many questions without even waiting for answers, and calling him names, demeaning his human nature, calling him a cat, calling him a coward, which is a curse for a soldier in the army. We will exploit these points further in a minute. Macbeth's dialogue with his wife, analysis of this, paraphrasing her opinion. She tells him, how have you changed your mind and lost your nerve? Have you lost your courage? I won't believe any more that you love me. She tells him, if you love me, go kill him. Are you afraid to go and get what you want, what you deserve? Some additional reasons were introduced in this dialogue to kill King Duncan. And they are that Macbeth has recently been rewarded by Duncan, or not to kill the king, is that Macbeth has been recently rewarded by Duncan, and that Macbeth's reputation is now very good and should not be rejected, should be enjoyed. The persuasive techniques that Lady Macbeth uses with her husband, she asks, as we said, many questions fast, so he wouldn't find time to defend himself. She ties his willingness of murder to loving her. She calls him the worst insult to a soldier, which is a coward. She demeans his manhood by comparing him to an animal or a cat. The final technique is used to infuriate, is to anger him, is to charge Macbeth in order to go into the room and just commit the murder. Because a person cannot commit a murder while being calm. There's a few in movies or in books, very few people that do commit murder while being chill, and they called serial killers because they're used to this. This is not their first killing. But for Duncan, or for Macbeth, this was not his habit. That's why he was calm. He was confused. So Lady Macbeth used this persuasive technique in order to infuriate him, in order to charge him with anger and send him inside. She called him a coward as well, to add insult to injury. She told him, "You don't love me if you don't kill him." She played on his sentiments. And she asked him so many questions, fast, without even giving him time to defend himself. We're done for today. Thank you very much for listening. Stay safe and keep up the good work.